friends, how are you? So I'm back for part 2. We'll take over where we left. I was just singing that song which I tried to quote the Bible, where Peter told the disabled person that fedha na dhahabu hatuna, kile tulicho nacho ndicho tutakupa, kwa jina lake Yesu wa Nazareti, simama na uende. So we left off where 2016 we were in the process of applying our visas to Canada for the 4th time, and it seemed like it was going to happen in 2017, but by the time the process was heading there, hubby was also leaving for Florida to start a new job. So this is where it starts, and I wish I brought my Bible. In fact, let me get my Bible, because so guys, I brought my Bible, and I want us to read from the book of Genesis 26 and from 12. And this is where Isaac was kind of leaving his father's steps. He had had to go away because there was famine, and he lived in a land where Abimelech was the leader. And then I relate to this story because we tried the first time to get visas and failed, the second, the third, and on the 4th time we got them. And it's funny that God can keep a thing for you, but you have to learn and you have to go through something, yeah? And in the end, you will say like David in Psalms 116, it was 119, right? And verse 68, it was good I was afflicted, so I may learn your decrees. If I tell you that I'm glad for every experience that I lived, even though I feel like I'm still healing from the wounds that I got in the journey, believe me. So let's read from chapter 26 and verse 12. It felt like everywhere Isaac went, he was blessed, like he was fruitful. So when Isaac planted his crops that year, he harvested 100 times more grain than he planted, for the Lord blessed him. Verse 13, he became a very rich man, and his wealth continued to grow. He acquired so many flocks of sheep and goats, herds of cattle, and servants that the Philistines became jealous of him. So the Philistines filled up all of Isaac's wells with dirt. These were the wells that had been dug by the servants of his father Abraham. So that was war over the wells. Look, if you have such a big herd of animals, it's hard to not have water, because how are you going to take care of them? So finally, in verse 16, Abimelech ordered Isaac to leave the country. Go somewhere else, he said, for you have become too powerful for us. So Isaac moved away. That's verse 17. So Isaac moved away to the Gerar Valley, where he set up their tents and settled down. Verse 18, he opened the wells his father had dug, which the Philistines had filled in after Abraham's death. Isaac also restored the names Abraham had given them. 19, Isaac's servants dug in the Gerar Valley and discovered a well of fresh water. Verse 20, but then the shepherds from Gerar came and claimed the spring. This is our water, they said, and they argued over it. Isaac's herdsmen over it with Isaac's herdsmen. So there was a fight. And so Isaac named the well Isaac or Esek, which means arguments. So that was the first time, that was the first well that they had dug out after the initial being covered up by the Philistines. So they dig a well so they can take care of their animals, and the shepherds and the men in the land end up fighting over it. So Isaac is like, cool, we will move away. So, but I will name this well. I will call it Esek, a place of arguments. So 21, Isaac's men then dug another well, but again there was a dispute over it. So this is the second one, and there's a dispute over it. So Isaac named it Sitna, Sitna, which means hostility. So the first one is called Esek, the second one is called hostility. And 22, abandoning that one, Isaac moved on and dug another well. This time there was no dispute over it. So Isaac named the place Rehoboth. So this was a place of peace. Like they seemed to be settling, right? But this place that they settled, hakukuwa na war. There was no war. They didn't fight with anyone over the wells. And so they had fresh water. The water was good and there was no war. And so he called the place Rehoboth, which means open space. For he said, at last, the Lord has created enough space for us to prosper in the land. Now, I want to say this. There's a place you reach and you think you're doing okay. And I compare this to when I felt I was doing okay with my business. And I was living in a nice place, sort of, even though we were renting, it wasn't ours. And I was feeling like, this is okay. I don't have to go to Canada. Because why should I face all this heartbreak? But, so which means open space, for he said, at last, the Lord has created enough space for us to prosper in this land. No more fights. We don't have to share. It's cool. But on verse 23, from there Isaac moved to Beersheba, where the Lord appeared to him on the night of his arrival. I am the God of your father Abraham, he said. Do not be afraid, for I am with you, and I will bless you and multiply you and your descendants, and they will become a great nation. I will do this because of my promise to Abraham, my servant. 25. Then Isaac built an altar there and worshipped the Lord. He set up his camp at that place, and his servants dug another well. And you know what happened when they dug another well in this place called Beersheba? One day, King Abimelech came from Gerar with his advisor Ahuzah, and also Phicol, Phicol, his army commander. Why have you come here? Isaac asked. You obviously hate me since you kicked me off your land. They replied, we can plainly see that the Lord is with you. Cool. Let's make a covenant. Swear that you will not harm us, just as we have never troubled you. We have always treated you well, and we sent you away from us in peace. And now look how the Lord has blessed you. Like, have you ever been blessed until it gets scary to people? Like, then if they mess with you, you have a father who will. And now look how the Lord has blessed you. So verse 30. So Isaac prepared a covenant feast to celebrate the treaty, and they ate and drank together. They made peace. So it's possible to make peace with your enemies and people who have treated you wrong. Lord help us. And they ate and drank together. Early the next morning, they each took a solemn vow, a solemn oath not to interfere with each other. Then Isaac sent them home again, and they left in peace. That very day, Isaac's servants came and told him about a new well they had dug. We found water, they exclaimed. So Isaac named the well Sheba, which means oath. And to this day, the town that grew up there is called Beersheba, which means well of the oath. And there's a version that talks about this water being sweet. I don't know if you're a Gikuyu, you must know the song called the song by, I think, Hezendongo. It goes biriri shiba bibiri rai rai kendi makyoria oremboyo onyedete. Let me stop all this. So, but this story is exciting to me. So this fourth time we applied, or hubby applied for the visas, and we got them. I have to take you back. Now, when hubby had left 7 years before, he had left on date 6 in May 2009. For some reason, without us trying or manipulating things, we left on date 6 July 2017. That hit us in a way. And I think it's because we were so much into the spiritual. At least this time we were trying to understand. But I will tell you how I came to understand numbers. If you follow me on Facebook, you will, like, okay, don't do this anymore because I feel like I've overdone it. But every month, every first of the month, I post about the month number and what it means, so that I feel like it's something to look forward to. Like when you believe that something means something, that there's a deeper meaning in a thing, then you're it's like you make your heart have expectations of what you can get out of that month or day or year. These things just, if you believe in anything, you give it power and energy. Everything is energy. So let's move on. So we left on 6th, having gotten our visas, we left on 6th July 2017. We arrived in Canada on 7th July 2017. So 7/7/17. And let me tell you, all I was thinking about is like, I've arrived on the 7th day, and it is over. All this suffering, all this crying about visas, it's over. We are here. And so that was the day we arrived. It was such a busy day. The person who picked us, yani, alitupeleka raundi, and we had to get stuff for the house, food, nini, we get power. So in Canada, it's interesting, but if, like, we had booked the house online, hubby had paid online, but we had to sign some contract. They are very careful about who they rent the house to, and you have to agree to some things, but like, it doesn't come with power. You have to go to the power company on the same day that you've arrived, sign up some documents. Luckily, hubby had been living there, so he had an account. They don't take out your account even if you move away. So he had an account for water, for power, and for internet. So we kind of registered for, but under his name. So we got power, we got water, but we didn't get internet right away. But yeah, we got into our house. Do you know what the number on the door was, or the street address? 14. It was called 14 Sorel Drive. Remember, this time I have prayed, I have understood so much. Like, I had opened my eyes to a lot of spiritual understanding, so everything had a deep meaning for me. So the other day we were discussing as a family, and we said it's funny how our lives, the number of completion and the double of it, which is 14, it's like it follows us everywhere. I won't give you my address, but the people who know me abroad, because people come to pick food or cake here, they already know my address. Now making them think, yeah. Anyway, so we got our visas and traveled, and that's the day we arrived. So I'm assuming that you would ask me, how was the process? What did you have to do? Now, there's this very cool thing about Canada. They never do interviews. So you have to process your papers through an agency of theirs. It's located in Parkland. At least it was then. It is not now. So, no. Did I say it's not? I meant I'm not sure if it still is in Parkland. But it's it's easy. Like whenever you process, because you do everything online, they direct you on where to go. It's not a hard issue at all. And let me tell you one thing I've seen about people who want to travel, or people who desire a thing and they're so passionate about it. You will travel, you will go wherever you need to go to get the thing you need to get. So I'm not afraid for any of you. I know if my family now, if like someone was coming abroad, they would not even struggle. It would be like auntie nini. But we did that process by ourselves, and it is good. I always say it is good because that hobby was not there, because I got to grow. I got to learn, you know. And now I don't take things for granted, and I respect hubby so much for what he had to go through in that season. When we arrived in Canada, and allow me to just dwell on the spiritual in this video, I used to think of husband as Abraham, that he went ahead and just created a way for us. But one thing I will tell you, or rather one thing I'll tell you about this journey and how God had made it for us, it was such that we got to appreciate each other much more, even though like so much time had passed and we had gone through so much, and we surely needed to heal, and we were heavily relying on the word of God. And one thing I learned, or God gave me like some words when I was leaving, was from Isaiah 45. I heard the Lord say, I have gone ahead of you to make the crooked ways straight. Over the year that we stayed in Canada, I understand like God was using Canada for us to get assimilated. You know how even in the Bible, the Israelites, when they got to Canaan, they had to fight the giants. Like that was my place of fighting the giants. And I'm so grateful that it was a smaller place for me to go through tough stuff, to even get used to the weather. And when I say I'm representing my kids too. I saw God work in mysterious ways. Like looking at my son Michael, it's like he had desired so much to be with his dad, and he was following in his father's footsteps. He was so passionate about getting into the college that his dad had been in. And like the other day, I did a story about history repeating itself, and sometimes we can assume that things will go a certain way because we've been there, we have seen, and now we assume that things will work out that way. So for Michael, like I said, he left before he sat for his KCSE. So when we went to Canada, he went straight into Form 4, which is 12th grade. Tamwa went to 8th grade. And Toto joined now 6th grade. He was going into class 6. And so they did that, passed with flying colors. They did so well, oh my God. And then Michael got accepted into the college that his father had attended. But later, through our journey, we had to change locations. And I might not tell you enough about the babies. That is just to tell you about how we were following the things that we could see, because the things that are revealed are for us and our children. But the things that God keeps in secret, and he might even give you a hint, are for him. So he will use he will use what he has to use to guide you on your journey. But the Bible also says we know in part, so we do in part. He will reveal things in part, just so that you can go through the process like he needs you to, because the details are in the process. That's where you learn, that's where you grow. I used to feel like Canada beat me up so much. I found it hard to adjust to the jobs and to the weather. I'm telling you, we think in Africa that it's the snow that's bad. In St. John's, the wind was so bad. If you don't wear gloves and you're waiting for the bus, your fingers become so, it's like a frostbite. Like you will go through that, you go into your building, into work, wherever you're going, but at night you can't sleep. There's a way they explain it scientifically, but me, I don't I don't keep details. But I used to feel so cold. Oh my God. I would try to sleep, and let me tell you, you have to pay for heat in Canada. You'd rather miss food but pay for heat. They have a saying in Canada that I've paid my, it's not a saying, it's like a joke. I've paid my power bill, so now I can sleep, I can die, I can die of hunger in warmth. It's so cold. So you have to keep your house heated. You have to really be careful with your children when they're going to school. You have to make sure they're well clothed. But man, these kiddos were just strong and nice, and I was really in admiration. And so in that 1 year, we learned, we grew, we did so much. I learned about the, like the way I'm saying, the social system. So we arrived in July. I got my first job on 21st August. And on Christmas, we went to see, for the Christmas, now these things are so introduced, like I've been introduced to Kenya, and it's not a wonder anymore. So I was amazed, I was mesmerized by the fact that no matter the season, these people live their lives. It doesn't matter how cold and windy and stormy it is. They continue with their lives. You would be surprised that there are people who have built their houses like on a cliff. And like there's a cliff they built under, and the Atlantic Ocean is there. It used to be a fisherman's land, like a lot of immigrants there, like the first settlers were fishermen. And okay, I'm wrong for saying they're the first settlers, because there's the original settlers, the tribes, the real tribes of Canada, the Inuit, the I've forgotten these names. Okay, hey, the way somebody steps without looking back. Anyway, so I've told you about the last visa that we received, and how I associate it with Isaac's journey following his father, and that by the time we reached Canada, Habi had left. And so I need to share something. So we knew that Habi would be gone by the time we got there, and so we were supposed to apply for visas to both Canada and the US, but because the correspondence from Canada had arrived fast, we decided to fill the forms and go with Canada first. So when we went for our medicals, we knew that the next medicals we would come for were the American, like we would do the American visa processing thing, and we'd come for medicals. So the same place that we went for medicals would be the same place we would do medicals for the American visa. So this thing happened, and I know you would wonder, like, why go to Canada when your husband is in the US? So I will explain. We went for our medicals, and during the medicals, something was seen in Tamua's lungs when we did the x-rays. And so when we went home after the medicals, the first day, we were supposed to report the next day for the vision, assessment, all of that. But they told us that one of us failed their x-ray examination, and so they would have to repeat. So the next day when we discovered it was Tamua, the middle child, because he used to joke a lot. We were like condemning him. Wewe ulikuwa dance kwa x-ray, you were doing all sorts of things, that's why your x-ray failed. He had to take it again. And so when we went to get like the briefing or the explanation of how our medicals went, we were told, you've kind of all passed your medicals, but the thing that is being seen on your child's lungs is something that the Canadian government will have to investigate in their labs, and if they allow, then they will I mean, if they think it's not a big deal, they will allow you to go ahead and get the visas. But should they decide that it's a problem like TB, then you'll have to stay and do tests for another 2 months. So we've been positive all this time, and then this. So we asked him, we wanted to apply to the US as well. Should we go ahead? And he told us, I would not advise you to try the US because they are very strict about their any issue that is seen in the lungs. They try to keep TB away from getting into the country. So one thing, if you're watching this with the hope to learn something, if you're coming abroad, make sure you're very healthy. Get your tests done, get your physicals done, even if it's annually. Make sure, actually, I do know that sometimes we are so low on cash, but make sure you take care of your teeth, because on this other side, especially the US, dental is expensive, physical is expensive. If you fall sick, my God, the copays are so expensive, especially if you don't have a good insurance. And good insurance is not easy to come by, especially for people like me, like us. We are not on green card, yeah, we are still on exchange students situation. So listen, please take good care of your health. For everything that you want to achieve in this life, level up in your health, level up in your, like, take care of things like your eyes, your teeth. Make sure you're okay. Why? Does it mean that this place is heaven, so people have to sacrifice so much? No. It is only when you're far away from home and far away from everything that you realize you need to keep yourself healthy, mentally, spiritually, physically, because there's some challenges that will come to you. You will think you're losing your mind. So get grounded. And whatever discipline you employ now, whatever you do for your physical strength and health, please, it will help you. Every little thing goes a long way. So one thing I do and one thing I gift people is journals. Pour out what is in your mind into journals. Write out how you're feeling, however stupid you think it is. Write your dreams. And I promise you, you know the way the Bible says, the dream, inasemangaje kwa Habakkuk, the dream is for a set time, and though it tarries, though it delays, it will surely come to pass. Please, if you want to go to abroad, America, Canada, wherever you want to go, even in the UK or Europe, yeah, UK is in Europe, but wherever you want, whatever dreams you have, write them today. Even if you're not feeling like, just say, Nduta says, and go ahead and write. And I promise you, one day you will look back into your journal and be like, oh my God, I'm ticking all these things that came true, because dreams really do come true. Now, I have to say, being abroad, it's not heaven. For you to afford your life, you'll have to work for everything. So build your strength. And a gym, lift. I'm saying that because if you knew the reasons why you haven't been seeing me, is some of them are health issues. And I thank God for this far, that I'm smiling, I'm laughing, I'm not riddled in debt. So I thank God for the far. Mine, the way he says, I will never leave you nor forsake you, he never has. And the way he says, he told me, that is the word that I had, I am going ahead of you to make the crooked way straight. When I think about how we always thought we were going to Canada, and that would make us, you know, be close to husband, so he would be like, whenever he has a free time, even a weekend, he can just fly over to Canada and we'd have some time as a family. And it would be more times than we used to when we were in Kenya. Like we would be neighbors, we would be close. But God had prepared this place for me, because if you hear the way I talk about Canada and the way I talk about this place, you would think Worcester must be the best place ever. No, it's because when I think about the journey and the things and the two discussions we had with my lover God, the things he used to tell me, the things he would reveal to me through his word, I realized, so when he said, I'm going ahead to make the crooked way straight, he meant he's going way ahead, past Canada, past Florida. He's going to settle us in this place. I will tell you more in the next video. I will tell you about our stay in Canada. I will tell you about how we left Canada going into Florida just because we wanted to reduce our bills, and because we were trying so hard to settle as a family. And I at that point when I came into the US, we were even talking about me just taking a short break and going back to Canada because I couldn't work in the US. I didn't have papers to work, but as a spouse or dependent of my hubby, I was allowed in. I could work, I could go to school, but it would take a process for me to get the papers, and in the meantime it would mean just sitting and waiting for those papers to be processed. And it was also like kind of expensive to us at the time, because you see, this guy had been paying two rents, like his house, our house, everything that we needed, because when I went in, I didn't get a job immediately, and when I did get a job, it was just paying for food and power. And I even got a second job, and it was just like paying for our phone bills, because every bill has to be met. Otherwise, you'll get into credit debt, which is not something good. So shall we talk about life in Canada next? I will tell you everything that I know from my own experience. I'm sure you've heard stories, and I'm sure some people have success stories. I noticed that sometimes when I comment online about the things I went through, people like come out with, chest and say, oh my God, Canada is not like that. It is my own experience, what I went through. I'm not saying Canada is bad. I encourage anyone who can go to go. And so we'll talk about that next time. So I promise to give you everything I know, and eventually I'm hoping that I can even get expert advice from people who know more. So I offer to give you everything that I know. If you do have questions, please write them in the comments, not on my inbox, because when you write them on the comments, more people get to learn, and so we save time, we save efforts. Okay, so thank you guys. I'll see you the next time. Love you my babies. If you're watching, my nieces, everybody, family, friends, I love you, I miss you, I can't wait to see you. Bye bye.